1995. And whenever we're talking about a horoscope to somebody who's not familiar with astrology, we have to start first by explaining it a little bit because astrology is often presented very badly in the general newspapers and magazines that people see. Those of us who work with it, at least the ones that I'm associated with, do not think the planets are running the world or making character or making things happen to people. We think that the sky is like a clock. You look at the clock to see what time it is, but you don't think the clock makes time. The sky is a way to keep track of time. It's a way to find ourselves in space also. And it shows us the meaning in the world at any given moment. I think of it as really a way to see the mind of God. That this is one of our greatest gifts from God, to be able to understand the situation at any given moment, and then we can deal with it more effectively. So if we understand the world that a baby is born into, that gives us some understanding of the nature of the baby that comes at that time. And it's very mysterious, but it just does seem to work. That the baby comes to a situation, including patterns in the sky, which we call a horoscope, the map of the sky, that fit their own nature. And it gives them a mirror to see themselves and then to decide what they want to do with it. The horoscope, the map of the sky, does not dictate the details of the life. It just shows the psychological principles that are operating, and then it's up to the person to handle those drives or desires, to do positive things with them. As we see life with astrology, there are 12 sides of life, and of course there are many different models for human natures. Psychology is full of them, but this one is a useful one. 12 basic drives or desires, and everyone has all 12. When you talk about a sun sign, which is all you know from the birthday alone, this is just a small part of the picture. Everybody has the same 12 principles in a unique combination, not like anybody else. Now, all 12 not only are present in every chart, but they are able to be manifested. We can try to satisfy those desires in many different ways, some of them positive and some of them painful. Nothing in astrology is automatically good or bad. It always depends, the results depend on what we do with it. But there are some real conflicts between some of these desires. So we can't do them all at once to their fullest extent. It's just not possible. We have to learn to either take turns with them, do them alternately, or we can stay in the middle and do a little bit of several. Those are both good ways to handle the conflicts. What doesn't work very well, the dangers, are repression, where a part of us is blocked and buried into the subconscious, and then it will make problems. Very frequently it's connected to illness, because the subconscious runs the body, manages it. It keeps us breathing when we're asleep, it repairs wounds, and it digests our food, and we don't have to think about any of those things. The subconscious handles it. And if we are burying fears, guilts, angers, negative emotions, eventually the subconscious will produce a body symptom, which is like a message saying, I'm not happy, do something. And if we can get that out in the open and deal with it, this can help us to get well. But as long as it stays inside, buried, it's like the Dead Sea, where stuff keeps coming in and can't get out, and it gets poisonous eventually and destroys life. So we have to stay in touch with those deep emotions, keep them conscious, and work with them, and then we don't have to be sick. Another possibility is projection. That's when we find someone else who will do part of us for us, because we're not comfortable doing that. It's in conflict with another part of us. The problem with projection is usually the more we don't do it, the more the other person does too much. Overdoes it until it finally gets pretty uncomfortable. It's like being on a seesaw. We go down, they keep going up. And we can change it if we find a way to do a little more ourselves. Another possibility is displacement. Doing one of the 12 sides of life which doesn't fit, it doesn't work very well. Now obviously again we can change that and look for these desires, try to satisfy these desires in places where they work better. Then sometimes, of course, people are just imbalanced. They may be very excessive in some areas, and there may be parts of life they've neglected that they have to learn to handle, and they're a little harder. So the chart just helps us to understand the nature of the person, but they are doing their life and they can change what they're doing. Mostly, all of us act out of habits, but habits can be changed. So this is just a tool for self-awareness, as to be used as any other similar tool is, as we use psychology, psychological questionnaires, and so on. Now, the tools we use in astrology do include planets in the sky, sections of space, which are called houses, other sections called signs of the zodiac, lots of different variables up there that are useful. But there are just many different ways to symbolize the same 12 principles, the same 12 basic drives or desires. And just think of life as a juggling act, trying to make room for each of these different desires. All potentially positive, all part of a healthy whole life, but with some real conflicts that we have to work out. Of course, we also want to look at the chart for the talents, the strengths, the assets that are there to be carried further. And always hope that we can enjoy the journey while we're here growing and learning. I think that life is the creative power, that life is continuous, that we've been here before, and we come back to keep on growing, and we come in where we fit, where we match the state of the universe. So the horoscope's like a mirror, a way to see ourselves, what we ourselves have created, and if we want to change ourselves, then it's up to us to do that. And that doesn't mean it's easy, because what we bring back is just habits, and habits are not easy to change, but possible if we really want to. So the horoscope is a picture of our character that we ourselves have developed, and it's up to us what we do with it. It does not show the details of the life. It shows the principles operating in our own nature. Basic drives and desires in our own nature. It's an inside job. Nothing out there doing anything to us. But it's it's still quite complicated because it's a picture of life with 12 ways to be in the world, which you're familiar with the 12 signs. But they are described in astrology in many ways. The planets say them in their way, the signs say them another way, the houses of the chart say them in still another way, the same 12 principles. So we get the same meaning with the planet Mars, the sign Aries, and the first house of the chart. And much of the way astrology is taught is just totally confusing to people because they talk as if these were all completely different. And all you need to learn is 12 basic principles, and then astrology is absolutely logical. But that doesn't mean that it's going to spell out the details of the life, because each of the principles can be satisfied. We can try to satisfy that desire in a lot of different details. Like letter 1, Mars, Aries, and the first house are just, I want to do what I want to do, and I want to do it right now, and now I've done that. What else can I do? I want to do something different. Now, what a person wants to do could be anything in the world. And so trying to say they're going to do this detail or that detail is totally futile. It's just a big guessing game when astrologers try to guess the details. But if you stick to the psychological principles, you're going to be right pretty much of the time, and hopefully it'll be helpful. People can say, okay, this is what I really want. There's a better way to go after it than what I've been doing. And anything important in the nature is said over and over and over again. It's very repetitive. So hopefully we can use the mirror in the sky to understand ourselves and to make a better life for ourselves. Now, the only ways I know to work out comfortable handling of these 12 sides of life is either through taking turns with them or through a compromise where we have a little bit of several, because there are real conflicts between some of them. Some of them are naturally harmonious and they support each other, they complement each other, and some of the desires are naturally in conflict. And so our challenge is to make peace between the conflicts, either take turns with the desires or to find a middle place where we have a little bit of both. If we don't manage one of those two solutions, we have a number of possible dangers. We may repress a part of our nature, bury it in the subconscious, and that's when we get sick. The subconscious runs the body, and if it gets too clogged up with negative emotions, pretty soon it produces body symptoms that are like a message saying, I'm not happy, do something. And if we can uncover whatever it is we've buried, deal with it, then that helps the body get well. Another possibility is projection. That's when we find someone else who will do part of us for us because we're not comfortable with that side of ourselves. And the more we don't do it, the more they overdo it till it finally gets uncomfortable. Like a seesaw, we keep going down, they keep going up. So that doesn't work very well either. And still another possibility is displacement. Doing one of the 12 sides of life where it doesn't fit, it doesn't work very well. So those are the kinds of things we can look for as things we could change if we've been doing that. Now, sometimes imbalance is the problem. We may be excessive in some areas, and there may be parts of life we've neglected. So we look at that possibility too. But for most people, it's the conflicts that that bug them, and yet it's not that impossible to work them out, to have a place in our life for each of these 12 sides of ourselves, so they become complementary rather than in conflict. Now, of course, we also want to look at the chart for the talents, strengths, the assets that are there to be carried further. Hopefully, that's our gift to the world. And also, hopefully, we can enjoy the journey as we go on learning what we came to learn. So, the one thing you do have to accept as a possibility when you deal with astrology is that there might be continuity of life. That is, this might not be the only time we come here. We might have been here before, created our character, and come back where we fit. So we come in to match parents, heredity, environment, and horoscope, which is just a map of the sky at the moment of birth. So for me, the astrology planets are just the greatest, one of the greatest gifts we have from God to help us to understand ourselves and life, to see the state of the cosmos and be able to deal with it more effectively. But we are doing our life, and we can change what we're doing. The results of our life are absolutely up to what we do. Now, the tools of astrology do include a lot of jargon, and for people who have not studied it, which I will assume is the case for you, it's it's better to just ignore the jargon and have faith that English will follow. I will mention the features in the chart because sometimes after I've done it, people decide they're interested. They really want to know more. So they want to know why did I say this or that about their chart. And if I put the astrological features in and then say what they mean in psychological terms, then it's all there on the tape. They have it for future reference if they ever want to go further with astrology. So we have planets and signs of the zodiac and houses of the horoscope, which are what you see like cuts in a pie, the division of the circle by lines radiating out. And those are all just different ways to symbolize a model of human nature with 12 sides, like 12 ways to be in the world, 12 primary desires or drives. Now, psychology is full of models. I studied all the personality systems available when I was in school, and I never found one that was as complete, as sophisticated, as complex as astrology. So it's a form of psychology, but I think it's superior to psychology that I've studied. It helps us describe and understand human nature. But models are not final and total truth. They're just useful tools. So you can use any model about human nature and it will give you part of the picture. You can use palmistry, you can use the tarot cards or the I Ching, numerology. There are lots of different systems. But astrology does give you more than any of the rest. I think it gives you more than all the rest put together. It's so complicated. But all these different tools are just different ways to symbolize the same 12 principles. So once you're clear about that, then it's not that difficult to understand. And